Hello, everybody. Welcome. So happy that everybody was able to join us, either in person or over Zoom. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. It's right over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Can the Zoom people hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Lee, Susan. Excellent. So wanted to let you, I just got a few announcements, and then we will have a scholarship recipient today. So I'm very excited about that. Today, and for the month of March, the Rotary Cut money again is for the Jayhawk area Boy Scouts. So please give generously. We are raising funds to be able to support their summer camp, and because they're going to be going back out and doing summer camp. So please give what you can. Thank you. In addition, I just wanted to share that we are talking about how we can partner potentially with Rotary International to be part of the donations for Ukraine. And we're working with some local people, as well as working with, talking with Yana, who, as you know, Yana's family is in the Ukraine. And so we're working on that. I just wanted to let you know, we'll have more information as it comes, but we'll have an opportunity to be able to support the Ukraine through what we're doing with Rotary International. So I'm very pleased to be able to do that. Just a reminder that the Rotary Foundation, our Topeka Rotary Foundation, is going to be releasing its next RFP for a signature project. And as I shared last week, this is a significant amount of funds that we give through our Rotary Foundation. It will be between $20,000 to $24,000 a year for up to 3 years. So if you know an organization that would be interested in being able to apply, I would encourage you. There are applications on the table. Take as many of those as you think would be interested. And there will be an information session to learn a little bit more about the criteria and the process on March 24th. No, March 22nd, sorry. March 22nd, which will be at the Topeka and Shawnee County Public Library. And it is required that anybody who's filling out the grant needs to come to the session. And it starts at 4. And so please, if you know anybody, we definitely want to be able to offer this process. It's a pretty competitive grant. This is our 3rd time we've done this, and we make a difference when we do this. The first time with the Topeka Center for Peace and Justice, the training that we provided funding for, those volunteers went into the schools and helped with restorative justice. And it was really a critical response to help students succeed and do well in the classroom. This last one that we are finishing right now was for the YWCA Day Center, and that was a focus on really helping survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking. And again, we made a huge difference with that. And we parlayed even more money from our Rotary International Foundation, because they partnered with us and did a global grant. So ultimately, our dollars leveraged even more, up to well over $100,000 to make a difference. So, which was amazing. It's amazing, you know, dollars tend to make dollars. And so this year we again have that opportunity. So please, I would encourage you. I also wanted to invite Gordon Lansford up. And then we will do guest introductions after we do this part. So Gordon has a wonderful opportunity for a scholarship.
Thank you. So,
yep.
Thank you, and it's a great pleasure for me to be here. I haven't been here in a long time. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm here today to present a scholarship to an international student at Washburn University. And as many of you know, we've been doing this for quite a while. And one of the people that's key to our success is Bai Li Zhang, who is a member of the South Rotary Club. And he's on Zoom with us in that upper left-hand corner there. I asked Bai Li this morning, I said, now when did you start working with Francine? And he had to think about that. And Bai Li, I think it's about 30 years ago, isn't it?
Yes, that's about right. 30, maybe 30 plus.
Oh, okay. They can't hear you. So he says about 30 plus years. But Bai Li is the director of the International House at Washburn University, and he is the individual we coordinate with to find needy and deserving international students who are at Washburn University. We've slacked off a little bit over the last COVID time, I'll just call it that. And we haven't been able to accomplish what we'd like to, but we're going to get back to that. And we're going to start with that today. How many of you in the room, and feel free to raise your hands if you're Zooming, knew Francine Hines? Okay. It looks like well over half of you did. Francine was an amazing individual and an outstanding Rotarian. She was born in Brussels, Belgium, and French speaking, and grew up as a teenager there when the Nazis invaded Belgium, and later was able to leave and came to the United States and married a gentleman whose name I can't remember right now. And they farmed for a long time just outside of Topeka. And then she married a commander, Colonel Hines. And for a lot of years, she was a driving force because she was a great believer in education. And she wanted to make sure that the international students had the support that they needed when they were here. And we've been doing that for a long time. Our budget used to be higher than it is now. I'd like to get it back up there if we could. And I have 2 or 3 ideas on how we might do that if others were of the same mind. Today, I'd like to introduce to you our recipient. Now, we were going to all 3 be here, but it didn't work out that way. And that's the way it is in Kansas. You know, some days it's 70 and the next day it's 7. So that's the way it is. I sort of felt at home today because I grew up in Wyoming. Every day is like this in Wyoming. So you just get in your car, you go to work. That's all there is to it. But our recipient today is a student who's well-deserving, and I want to make sure I get this right. His name is, and he's on Zoom also, and he's right under Bai Li on the left side, and his name is Anish Shah, and he's from Nepal. He's a nursing student, and he began his training online with Washburn University. And as he tells it, his class day was from 7 p.m. till 2 a.m. And he had calculus at 2. I don't think I could do that. So well done, Anish. He's,
Thank you,
as
sir.
I said, a nursing student. He had a 4.0 until last semester, and now it's 3.81 cumulative. But the other thing that he did that I think is outstanding, and he's deserving of this recognition, is he was recommended by a math instructor when he got here that he could be a math tutor. And he is a math tutor. He works in the chemistry stock room. He's a student health worker. He's a presidential ambassador for international students. He's a trainee peer educator. He's a member of the biology club, and the list goes on. I'm most impressed by the fact that at the end, he says, I am active, and we should all do this. I am actively serving at different places at Washburn and learning to be a good person and make the most out of my collegiate life. Now, if every one of those students did that, wouldn't that be great? So we have a check for $1,000 that we're going to get to Bailey, who's going to get that to Anish. And we'd like to congratulate him. I did invite him before the meeting that if in the next few weeks he has the opportunity, he might come down here and spend 5 minutes with you all. And you might do a Q&A, or he might just give you a little more on what it's like to be a student in Washburn these days. So please congratulate Anish on his recognition.
Thank you so much, sir.
Here's his check.
Thank you, Rotary. Thank you, everybody.
Bailey, we'll be good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gordon. It's always lovely to see you.
Thank you.
We do have a few guests today, and I've actually asked if the person who brought them would come and introduce. And so, Dr. Gimple, could you come up and introduce your guest?
Well, I'm happy to have this opportunity. I've known Bailey for several years as we've taken part in the Topeka Friendship Network, which is a group of Topeka families that sort of adopt these kids. And COVID has also done us a blow for the last couple of years, but I think the international students are again returning, and we'll probably get involved. So Bailey, I'm glad to see that you're a Rotarian also.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Gimple.
It's October or something, but so far it's going good. In October, I brought a speaker here. His name is Steve Grant, who is an ex-NFL linebacker, guy who used to have big muscles. He's still pretty big, but not quite so muscle anymore. I have two gentlemen here today who Steve Grant works for. They represent Sports World Ministries, which is a nationwide organization which brings these ex-athletes, most NFL, into the schools to share their motto, which is, you're not born a winner, you're not born a loser. Help me.
Not born a loser.
You're not born a winner, you're not born a loser, you are born a chooser. Good thing I'm retired. But you think about that just a bit. That says a lot. And I've been involved with Sports World since 1989, so a long time. We've been bringing these guys to Topeka schools. So Tim Kirshner and Clyde Whitehouse are here just visiting. Just stand up briefly so they can say, so they know who you are. And you can visit with them after the meeting a bit if you like. And just as a precursor, next week's meeting it stars a very gentleman who's very dear to my heart. It's me. And we planned this prior to Mr. Putin invading Ukraine. But I'm going to share with you a mission project that I took part in for a long period of time in Ukraine. And I'm not going to tell you any more about that today. You have to come next time and see. And it's not a fundraiser, so it's over. No more funds are needed. But it will help you get an appreciation for who the Ukraine people are. When you visit Ukraine, it looks just like Kansas. The people look just like Kansans. The difference is they speak a different language and they have an entirely different form of government. And that government has destroyed their country until they got their freedom a few years ago. And as we can see, they've enjoyed their freedom. So thank you.
You weren't gonna tell us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ken. All right, Terry.
Hello. I have a guest that many of you know already, Maggie Kelly. Maggie, stand up. And she's been a community leader. She's also a board member of America the Beautiful. She also has done, she's been a massage therapist business for years. And I wanted her to, she wanted to come. She's also been on the zoo board, helping with Friends of the Zoo. She came here to see our speaker today, and we're really glad to have Maggie here. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. So even in the snow, we have lots of guests, so it's wonderful. I am going to now turn this over to Vince, who is going to introduce our speaker.
Good afternoon. Well, I don't usually read most of the bio of our speaker, but I'm going to change that today. Our speaker is Don Lessem, also known as Dino Don. He's an explorer, writer, exhibitor, and television presenter. He's one of the most leading presenters of dinosaurs via his Jurassic Park and Disney movie and theme park consulting. His excavations of the world's largest dinosaurs, his touring exhibitions, 52 books, Nova, Discovery Channel television documentaries. He went on Shark Tank, and Mark Cuban partnered with him, gave him some money, and together they've created the world's largest collection of accurate, full-size robotic dinosaurs, more than 400 of them, which they rent to zoos, and that is why he's in town, because his exhibit is at the zoo today and through a couple more months, right? He's one of the only persons, maybe the only person, that has a dinosaur named after him. And that is the Lessemosaurus. He's excavated and explored for dinosaurs worldwide. In Patagonia, he dug up and reconstructed the world's record-sized plant-eating and meat-eating dinosaurs. He's excavated in Mongolia, China, Canada, and the Arctic. Via his company, Dino Don, Inc., he created the world's largest and most popular touring dinosaur museum exhibitions, including Jurassic Park, seen by more than 5 million people worldwide in museums in US, Canada, Italy, blah, 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 all over the world. He's the author of 52 books. He's written for National Geographic, many, many things. Nova, radio. Really, this is truly amazing. One more thing. He's an expert on Genghis Khan, about who he has mounted a world touring exhibition seen by 1 million people and written and edited 3 books. He's been on the Today Show, Good Morning America, everything. He's a degreed animal behaviorist from MIT, and he and his wife live in Philadelphia in a 1784 mansion surrounded by the original dinosaurs from the Jurassic Park film. Very unique, and we're very pleased to have Don with us. Ladies and gentlemen, Dino Don.
I don't recognize that guy from the intro, and besides, Vince used up all the time, so it was great meeting you. I'll see you around this. Let me see if I can put this on here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so impressed everywhere by what Rotary does, and I'm very glad it's getting involved with Ukraine. As it happens, my grandfather came from Ukraine, from a different invasion. He left when the Cossacks were coming in 1900. So that country is a benighted place. It's been through a lot, and I hope to get out of this one. I wanted to. Let me help you out here. I get it. There you go. I just had to go up there to make it. When you work on documentaries, they want not to get a lot of sound, so they tape it to your chest. And if you have chest hair, this is very painful at the end of the presentation. And by the way, I'm not one of those one-take guys. So I'm going to talk at you only for like 15 minutes or less, because I heard that at 1 o'clock you're out. And I wanted to leave some time for questions, because I'm really interested in what you guys have to say. I'm delighted to be here. This is my first time in Topeka. So thanks for having me. Thanks for interesting weather. I looked last week because, you know, when you go to travel, you want to see what the weather's going to be in the place you're going. It was like, oh, it's going to be 80 degrees. Where am I? Where am I going? And then I looked this week and it was predicted 2 degrees. But I'd already bought my ticket. So here I am. I hope you'll all get to see the dinosaurs. We're opening a day late because of the weather tomorrow, and they'll be here through the end of July. I'm hoping it does for this zoo what it's done, our dinosaurs do for about 20 other zoos around the world, which is it'll increase the attendance by at least 30%. And this place deserves it. You're under great management here, and I'm really impressed with how they've developed this place. And this is a beautiful facility. This is actually about the exact size of one of the dinosaurs that I excavated. So that's how amazing they are. What's that? No, it is a form of titanosaur. Very good. And there are many species. Do you want to? I know a wise guy when I'm only here because Maggie demanded that I come. So let me just tell you one quick story about the giant dinosaur. It's called Argentinosaurus. And I think you can tell us what country. That's right. From Argentina. And my daughter actually, we were out on the excavation. Like most dinosaurs, it was found by an amateur. Nobody knows where to dig until somebody finds a piece. The guy thought it was a piece of driftwood, the farmer in Patagonia. And the local scientist said, no, this is the femur, the leg bone of the biggest animal I've ever seen. They subsequently found some vertebrae. If you reach back here, yours are about the size of a quarter. When you're a young fella, it's probably a dime. On this dinosaur, it's twice as wide as me and just as tall and weighs 2 tons. So it's hard to get a sense of the scale of these animals. I used to bring my kids on the excavations, and my 10-year-old was with me, and we're digging around looking for stuff. And she walks over the hill and comes upon something, and she runs back really excited. I found something. And the scientist comes over, and sure enough, she had found, to this day, the biggest bone in the world. But the reaction of the scientist was not what I expected, because he had 2 bones almost exactly the same in that. And he said, now I have to dig this up. It's going to take me the whole summer with jackhammers to do this. I already have 2 that are exactly the same. Thanks a lot. So she was very disappointed. I said, so what are you going to do now? He said, I'm going to the bar. So you never know what's going to happen. I can anticipate for you guys, I think, one question, which is really why I'm here. And the question is an awful one, which is, why do kids love dinosaurs so much? The reason it's an awful question is, what's the matter with us that we've lost that sense of wonder? These are the most amazing things you could imagine, something this big walking the earth. Kids have no trouble putting themselves in that world and imagining these animals alive. Unfortunately, we've lost that. But we can get it back sort of through our kids and by bringing them to places like the zoo. I got involved in making these dinosaurs only 4 years ago because I hated robots. They're always half size. They move as if they have some kind of St. Vitus dance or something. But I was going to see a quarry, a dig in China, which is the best dinosaur quarry in the world. It looks as if skeletons from the museum had just been flipped over. And while I'm there, the fellow said, all the dinosaurs, pretty much all the robot dinosaurs in the world are made right here. I said, I had no idea. Let's go to the factory. So we went, and they're little old ladies with X-Acto knives. They have no mold. Each dinosaur that they make is made by hand. And it's amazing. And I realized, oh, they've just been given bad information. If I bring a scientist and an artist with the right information, we can produce full-size, really accurate dinosaurs. That was my mistake, and I'm still paying for it. So we made dinosaurs up to 100 feet long in the case of the Argentinosaurus, and you'll see some that are recreations of those same dinosaurs from China out here that are as much as 50 feet long, 60 feet long. So, and we're the only guys who do this, so it's become quite popular in zoos all over. I want to tell you one story, if I can, which is about how I got interested in dinosaurs the first time. I'm like most guys that if you had a dinosaur interest, it went from ages 3 to 8. Most of you probably went through something like that, at least the boys in those days. There wasn't a lot to feed on. You know, now there's toys everywhere, there's TV shows, there's movies, there's all kinds of things. In those days, there was a cover of Life magazine, I remember, with dinosaurs on it. This is the mid-50s. And there were some a few toys, and there were books, not many, by a guy named Roy Chapman Andrews. Any of you heard of him? Well, even us oldsters aren't old enough for him. He was the Lindbergh of the 1920s. He was the great American hero of that decade. And he explored all over the world. He started as a janitor at the American Museum, and he worked his way up to president. In between, he was a great adventurer. He didn't really know how to dig for anything. He was the model for Indiana Jones. He wore a jaunty hat. He carried a pearl-handled revolver. He was terrified of snakes. I mean, to the T. So it was a pretty racist time in the 20s. And he was a guy who loved publicity. In fact, at one point in one of his books, he said, you know, I took a bullet in the leg. Well, it's true. He had shot himself in the foot. So he embroidered his stories a little bit. But he went on this quest to Central Asia, to Mongolia, which was then totally unexplored, because he wanted to find the Asian ancestor of modern man. People didn't want to believe that Africa would be the home, as it was, of human life. So of course, he didn't find them. They're not there. But he found dinosaurs, lots of them. It's probably the best preserved burial ground of dinosaurs in the world. And he was able to make lemonade out of lemons. He found the first nest of dinosaur eggs ever found. And this radically changed the view of dinosaurs from these, you know, lumbering, stupid animals to, oh, they had a family. So he publicized the heck out of it. He even brought a Hollywood cinematographer with him so that he could go over sand dunes 100 miles out of his way to take pictures to be on the cover of National Geographic. So he did all this, ticker tape parades when he came back. And he wrote these books for kids, like the Golden Book of Dinosaurs. And that's what I read. And I read about the Flaming Cliffs. They named the place in Mongolia where he found these dinosaurs and these eggs. So I always wanted to go there. So when I got back to dinosaurs, I was a reporter for a newspaper that sent me out to meet crazy dinosaur guys. And there are only 35 people in the world who dig dinosaurs. So I decided I'll go meet all of them. So I went all over the place. And then Mongolia was the place I most wanted to go to see these Flaming Cliffs. Only in those days, it was Soviet run, 1988. It was very hard to get in there. So this story has to do mainly with arm hair. I went to see the embassy to get a permit in Beijing. You had to go. There were no planes. You had to take a train, and you had to have a visa. So I show up, and the guard at the gate with a rifle reaches in and pulls out the chest hair on me, because many Asian people don't have body hair. He was interested, and he had a gun, so he could do whatever he wanted to do. So it was a little painful. I look up and I see this old building and a guy in boxer shorts washing the floor. I come in, I say, I want a visa. They look at me, why? A guy comes down. It's the same guy who was in the boxer shorts. He's the ambassador, but he was dressed by then. He keeps positioning me under the light like this because, you know, that's where the bug was, to listen to us. He said, why do you want to go? I said, I want to see the dinosaurs. He said, why do you really want to go? So they didn't believe me. They attached a spy, a guide to me to go everywhere that I went. I went by train to get to the border, then by plane, and then the plane was a rejected Soviet airliner. If you can imagine that, it doesn't get any lower than a Soviet reject. There was no airport in the Gobi Desert. You just landed on the rocks, and so there was no, like, threads were coming out of the tires. The only tourists were East Germans and North Koreans. So I was not with the usual group, the usual gang. So I land in the desert and I say, okay, let's take this rejected Soviet Jeep and we'll go to the desert, find the Flaming Cliffs. And people there said, I don't know where that is. There are no roads in Mongolia. There are no signs. People live as nomads and they wander the country. So I said, okay, well, let's go this way. So we're going off for a while and we came across some nomads. And it was an old lady. She had no teeth. She maybe in her late 80s or 90s, pretty weathered from the weather. And we're in a Jeep, so my arms are out the window. She looks over and she starts pulling the arm hair out of me. I thought, I'm going to be, like a plucked chicken by the time I get out of this country. And I said, okay, through the translator, what's going on here? And he said, she said that the last person she saw with arm hair was when she was an 8-year-old girl and some open cars came through there. So the last white person she had seen was Roy Chapman.
Wow.
So that was an amazing feeling. And we said, well, you know where the Flaming Cliffs are? And she looked at us like, you're complete idiots. Well, it's right over there, like 200 yards from here. And we go there and there's this beautiful canyon land, sort of like Bryce Canyon. And the ground is littered with dinosaur bones. So it was a fantastic realization, and been dinosaurs ever since. So I would love to take questions from you guys if you have them. If you were 8, you certainly would. Yes.
Some places that finding dinosaur bones are not easy to find. What do they use to determine where to start looking to find them?
It's a great question. To find a dinosaur, you need rocks from dinosaur time, which is a relatively narrow part of Earth history. It's like, I do this with kids. The whole age of the Earth is from my feet to we're a split end at the top. That's all of human history. Dinosaurs are just this period. So you got to find rocks of that period on land, because dinosaurs lived only on land. The flying guys and the guys in the water, they're not dinosaurs. So geologists are mainly the ones who locate, and you can tell the age of the rocks. It's sort of a clock by their radioactive elements, and they decay at a certain level. I went to talk to a 6th grade once, and I was trying to explain this concept to them because they asked, how do you know how old the dinosaurs are? And I said, well, it's like a clock, and over time, you can tell how many ticks have gone on the clock. And the 6th grader said, no, I want to know if you use strontium or rubidium. I hate smart kids. So you need all that. But then you're just prospecting. That's why 8 out of 10 dinosaurs are found by amateurs. And Sue the T-Rex that's in town, I could tell you this story, but it's not broadcast. It was Sue, a woman who was accompanying her boyfriend. He was digging up very common dinosaurs there, but she wanted some privacy, and it's very open out there in South Dakota. So she wanted to wander off to go to the bathroom. So she went pretty far away, went to the bathroom, looked down, and she had peed on a T-Rex. But surprisingly, dinosaurs are usually found by amateurs by accident. So it's a low-tech science in that way, which we can all grasp. So if you go out to the right place, a lot of Montana, even out up to Alberta, those are rocks from the end of dinosaur time, T-Rex included. I have T-Rex's tooth on me. So this is, just to give you an idea how fantastic, this animal could eat a whole kindergarten in one bite, 500 pounds. When Jurassic Park, if they made it accurate, he would have eaten the lawyer and the toilet bowl in one bite. So you can find T-Rex in great numbers there comparatively. But we only have 1,500 dinosaur skeletons ever found in the whole world. So it's not like we have this wealth of information. Most dinosaurs are only known from a single tooth or bone. There's my dinosaur, Lessem, is actually well known because we have 3 of them. And as it turns out, it's a dinosaur with a particularly small brain and large belly. So I think that's why I got named for me. Actually, I had raised a lot of money for research. At the end of Jurassic Park, which is not the most accurate dinosaurs, it's just a lot of fun. I kept saying the whole movie, this is wrong, this is wrong. And they would say, shut up, please. Go eat the shrimp. And at the end of the movie, I went to Spielberg, Steve, baby, can I have everything in the movie? He said, why? I said, I want to make an exhibit about what's wrong with this movie. And he said, sure. And thanks to him, we toured this big exhibit, and every dollar of it, including Universal's royalty, went to research. So we raised $3 million for dinosaur research. To this day, it's the most money ever raised for dinosaurs. So the guy who named Lessemsaurus thought it was my $3 million. And if he named the dinosaur after me, he was going to get funded for the rest of his life. Boy, was he disappointed. But it was too late. He couldn't get it back. But that's a great question. You got to be out there and look. And I'll tell you one thing I do with kids. Lots of dinosaurs are just fragments, right? Well, how do you tell that from a rock? Because the minerals that make up rocks are now inside the fossil. That's what preserves them. When fossils are full of holes, your bones are full of holes. And so you see the little holes sometimes. If you can't see them, the prospectors used to lick the fossil, because you know how your tongue will stick to a dry potato chip. It'll stick to the fossil, it won't stick to the rock. So everything from dinosaurs, all kinds of fossils are preserved: footprints, eggs, bones, teeth, poop. So when I have a classroom I talk to and there's one kid who's a problem, at the very end, I bring him up, I tell him to lick this mystery rock, and then he's the poop specialist. So, I didn't do that to you guys. You're very lucky.
Don, we have a Zoomer asking, how much does it cost to transport the exhibits and to maintain them?
Oh my, that's a serious business question. Too much, way too much, because now from China, the prices have tripled. Interestingly, there's 20 dinosaurs here. They're all full size, though huge. It took 5 containers. Each container costs now $25,000 to get just from overseas to the US. It used to be $8,000 before this crisis. And they're made in 3 weeks in the factory. That many dinosaurs. And the price of the dinosaur, if you saw Shark Tank, is not very much. But by the time you do all the other things, it mounts up. So we kind of amortize that over time. Does it kind of answer the question? I don't know.
We'll find out.
Yeah, well, complain if it doesn't.
How long does it take to assemble that at the zoo?
Well, we have specialists who know what they're doing. So to do those dinosaurs took about 10 days. And you can imagine just too big to move in one piece. So the legs go onto the ground. The body is lowered by a crane onto the legs. And what takes so much time is to stitch them. It's like embroidery on a grand scale, because you don't want to see the seams. You want to feel like it's one animal. So it has to be stitched, painted over each time that it comes to a place. And it's a lot of detail that you wouldn't think about. Like, we want the sounds to be authentic. Of course, we weren't there. This one dinosaur has a horn. We can recreate his sound. The scientist did with bathroom tubing. And it turns out he's a B flat, the dinosaur. The rest of them, we don't know. So we use bird sound that we modify, because birds are living dinosaurs. Every time you eat a McNugget, you're eating a dinosaur. So they taste like chicken. Anybody else?
I have a question.
No, you don't get it, Vince.
The picture of your mansion
Yes.
with the dinosaurs throughout the grounds. What do your neighbors think about that?
This is more than I should tell you, but I live on like a lane because it's sort of in the country. And by the way, for a realtor, I lived in Boston where I had a little house on the railroad track, which I traded for a mansion in Philadelphia. So by all means, if you have to leave Topeka, go to Philadelphia. My house, I occupied following some swingers. So there were 100 people at a time in this house setting off fireworks and driving into the pond. So I was comparatively normal. So that worked out well. And by the way, I met my wife at a zoo. I was an advisor for the animal kingdom. And before they open, they bring all the experts, and they have all kinds, painters and the voice of the ride and all, and crazy dinosaur guys. Also, the woman who works out in nonprofit fundraising, that if you give Disney $1 for conservation, Disney takes all that money and they get the tax break, not you. So that was the woman I ended up marrying. So we get there. Disney, I think, let us go first because if we died, we couldn't sue them. So she was the only other person who wanted to pet the triceratops, not the triceratops, the rhinoceros. So I thought, oh, this is a woman after my heart. So that's why I moved to Philadelphia. Yes?
Yeah, are your setup and tear down crew permanent employees of your group, or are they local people?
They're permanent. I got into this business 4 years ago, as I said. Before that, I only had itinerant workers to set up exhibits. Now, in part thanks to Mark Cuban's money, we have 9 permanent employees and 25 technicians in 4 countries. and they go all over constantly, either installing, repairing, deinstalling. It's a huge logistical challenge.
About how many are in operation at any one time?
So right now we have, it's not just dinosaurs, because we want to hold the institution captive. Dinosaurs are great, but you only want to do them every 3 years. Then there's a new generation of dinosaur-loving kids that comes along. In between, we do giant ice age mammals and dragons and insects. So we have about 400 animals circulating. Most of them are dinosaurs. It's a lot of capital, and I don't know if you can ever sell them again. Who wants to buy used dinosaurs? I don't. You're welcome to. I mean, they're great lawn ornaments if you have a big living room. Yes. Okay.
This is a little off topic, but could you give us the backstory of being on Shark Tank?
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to hear.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, this was the height of COVID. I didn't apply. You know, tens of thousands of people applied, and they deserve to be on. I don't, but they loved the dinosaurs. They read an article about it. And so they called and said, "You want to be on Shark Tank?" And I said, "Not particularly." And they said, "Well, you'll have fun." So I said, "Okay, think of a reason why you could use money." Sure. So I said, "Well, maybe $500,000 would accelerate what we do. And we could do gate shares, which we do sometimes, which is more lucrative for us and is less of a burden on the zoo." So that was the philosophy for going. Since it was the height of COVID, they moved the studio to a hotel in Las Vegas, and all of us were in separate rooms that we never saw each other, all the contestants. They filmed the whole season show in 2 days. The hosts have never seen or heard a thing about you until you walk out on the stage. We were locked in the hotel room, locked in for 10 days. And there was a guard at the door, and the meals were brought in like you're in Alcatraz, but very good meals. And then they walk you out onto the set. So it's very bizarre. And the set was designed so we wouldn't infect the hosts. So they were all the way beyond where you guys are. And the dinosaurs, of course, are right next to me. And you're on longer. They condense it to 10 minutes, but the first half of the time, 40 minutes I was there, it was really cute. They were asking like these kid questions about dinosaurs, like, why did they go extinct? Whatever. Mr. Wonderful, the bald guy, he's really a creep. He's not a nice guy. And what's interesting is we did research. Only a third of the deals that he makes, handshake deals on the show, actually happened afterwards, because his terms are so onerous that people say, "Oh, forget about it." 80% of Mark Cubans do. And we knew that Mark Cuban was the only one who would be interested in entertainment. You know, the rest have different specialties. So we had shirts printed that said, "We love you, Mark Cuban," on the back. So none of the others bid. He said, "I'll give you $500,000 for a quarter of your company." And I would have given the whole company. I actually only wanted to give him 10%, but I said, I looked at my wife, and you're supposed to like check with your partner because she was on with me. And I could tell from her look that, if you don't take this deal, we're done. So I said yes, and we turned around and showed the shirts and walked off. And then you're gone, and we're driving across country because we didn't want to fly in those days. And I remember coming through Kansas and thinking, I just had the most bizarre experience, and now I'm ordering a cheeseburger. I don't know, it was very strange. And actually, I got the same call last week, persistently now, every day for 2 weeks, to go on America's Got Talent. I have no talent, so they want the dinosaurs. So we're getting guys in dinosaur suits. We're taping April 22nd. We're going to have people in this dinosaur suits, which are pretty convincing, dance on stage and attack Simon, the creepy guy. So it'll air sometime, I guess, in the fall. That's right. They are going to sing "Walk the Dinosaur." Anyway, thank you so much for having me.
That was absolutely amazing. So one little tidbit that I don't know that you know, Carbondale, which is just down the road on 75, is the home of Barnum Brown.
Oh, really?
And Barnum Brown discovered the first Tyrannosaurus Rex. And so I know that because my son did a history day in middle school, and we studied that. And so there's a sign just outside of Carbondale, which is a very small town. that says Home of Barnum Brown. So it was perfect for you to be here.
Great. You know, he was a guy who went all over the West and he loved the ladies. So it's said that there's a whole generation of people around the West who look like Barnum Brown.
He was also kind of affiliated with the Barnum and Brown Daily Circus as well.
Oh, yeah.
So, yep. So there you go. My tidbit of information. It's so lovely to have you here. Thank you for coming in, and I can't wait to get inside to take a look at it. Our next meeting is March 17th, and it's here at Cave Garden or over Zoom. And as Dr. Gimple shared, he is our speaker, and I can't wait to hear a little bit more. That was a wonderful teaser to kind of entice people to come on in or join us over Zoom. And it was wonderful to see you, Gordon, and thank you so much for recognizing the Washburn Student Nation. It's really wonderful to be able to get back into that again. At your table, I want to remind you, because I didn't, there is we're looking for additional volunteers for projects. And so if you have some time where you'd like to give back and get a little more involved, Steve has prepared this to kind of get us moving on all the different volunteers opportunities we do with our Rotary Club. So let's stand and do the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Will it be fun and kind? Thank you so much.